Hi, I'm Claire. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today what I'm going to be doing is taking opaque acrylic paints and using glazing medium to make them transparent. So when I'm layering on the jelly plate with my homemade masks from UPO paper, I can try and gain a little bit more interest in my layering. So I'm going to be using quite a strict colour palette so I can really see how the transparency works within the acrylics. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm just going to start with using some UPO paper to make some handmade masks, and I've just picked out a geometric shape that I want to repeat. And there you see I've got lots of my shape to repeat. So I'm going to be using 3 opaque paints, Paint Grey, Wedgwood Blue and a neutral grey. Now when I'm layering, I'd like my layers to be a little more transparent. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to mix these opaques with a glazing medium, and that will hopefully give me some more transparency. So I've got all my paints ready there. So I'm going to begin by really just getting some colour down on my pages first. And I'm going to be using what I'd describe as like a patchwork technique. So I'm not going to use one piece of paper, I'm going to be using multiple. So I just want a nice thin, even coat. Okay, give those a good rub. So I'm going to continue that process using the 3 different shades that I've got until I've got background colour over all of my pieces. So what I'm doing now is I'm just taking each colour, keeping it a nice thin layer over the gel plate, and then using my backgrounds, rotating the pages. I like to work in threes to build up a background that I can work on later. So I'm going back in with the grey. Again, nice even coat. Again, rotating the pages and overlapping them slightly. Quite like the way it's picking up from the time before, the line work and bits that have dried on the plate from the time before. Just adds a little bit more interest to your backgrounds. And I just keep rotating between the paint grey, the Wedgwood blue and the neutral grey. Just sticking to those same 3 colours throughout. You can see they're starting to build up quite nicely now. You don't have to put the paper down completely. You can see I'm just kind of pressing parts of it down onto the plate just to pick elements up off the plate rather than the whole sections. Just going back in now and filling the little gaps that I've missed. Just trying to make sure the whole of the paper is covered. So what I'm going to do now is do exactly the same thing, but using my geometric shape masks that I've made. I'm going to build up a pattern on the plate. Okay, and now I'm going to go in with one of my backgrounds. Okay, so that's quite nice. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with a piece of wet strength tissue paper for my ghost print. So I haven't actually put a background on this, so this is just the wet strength tissue paper. And I'm going to use this and build up layers of ghost prints in case I want to collage back into these to add some more detail later. I'm not going to clean my plate. I'm just going to keep going straight back in with the next colour. Okay, so I'm continuing now, layering the Wedgwood blue, again nice thin layer, and using those masks. Just position them in different ways, different patterns on the gel plate. Again, it doesn't really matter which side up the Yupo paper mask sits on your gel plate. If you've already got paint from the previous print wet on your Yupo paper, it will mix with that colour. Sometimes that can lead to get some quite nice, interesting textures and colour combinations. Other times it makes it go a little bit muddy, so it's something you need to kind of be careful of. So I'm using that on the background and again rotating it, breaking the patterns up each time, going in with the tissue paper again there to lift the ghost print. Back in with the neutral grey. Positioning those masks again in a different position. Just experimenting with how I can build pattern just using one shape really. So this time I'm going with the background and I'm doing it half and half. Just trying to break up some of those solid shapes. Again, taking those masks off, going back in for another ghost print. It was really quite warm while I was videoing this, so it was drying really quick, so the ghost prints weren't pulling off as well as they do normally. Back in with the Payne's grey. Masks again. Again, just experimenting how I can position them, rotate them to create different patterns. Going all over with this background, trying to pull it together really. Sometimes you need to go, rather than patchworking, go over with one colour just to gel the whole print together. And this time, instead of going over the tissue paper, I'm using one of the backgrounds again to pick up the ghost print. Giving it a good rub there, trying to make good contact. So that's starting to become a little muddy now. Probably gone a little bit far with that print. So back in with the neutral grey. The masks themselves are lovely to keep after, let them dry, spread them out, let them dry, and they make really nice pieces to stitch on or glue on for mixed media afterwards. And of course you can keep them and print with them again. They last quite a long time. So again, half and half with the background here, just working on layering and trying to break up those more defined shapes that are a bit harsh. Last go with the tissue paper. So I've got 3 layered prints. I always think it helps to kind of look over them. I just have this inky mount that I use, and it helps me decide whether I'm going to use them, what I'm going to use them for, whether it'll be a mixed media project or a standalone print. Quite happy with elements of these. I think the only thing I might do is I might stitch some lines into them. But overall, happy with how the paints have worked out in terms of them being transparent, so you're getting layers that you can see through. It's worked quite nicely, whereas when you use an opaque paint, it will completely block the layer out underneath. So yeah, I'm quite happy with my experiment in terms of using opaque paint to make them a little bit more transparent. Hope that helps, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.